In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a logo using kind of the beveled effect that I did here. So if you're interested in doing something like this, I'm going to go ahead and kind of just take you through the steps a little bit. So I opened Pixlr. I went to create new. I changed my width and height to 1,000 on each so that I had more of a square document, and clicked create. Okay. I went ahead and I changed my foreground color to black. And then I went to the paint bucket and I filled my layer with black. Okay, so now we're going to create our text layer, or I'm sorry, our circle. Okay, so I'm going to do a new layer. I'm going to make it empty. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how I did that blue circle. Okay, so I went to shapes down here. I went to circle on the top. And I changed my stroke size to as big as I can make it. I also turned off my fill because I didn't want the circle filled in. I just want the outline. So I turned off the fill. Went down here, choose whatever color you want your circle to be. It doesn't have to be blue, whatever, I can go with pink. Let's say we'll go with pink, okay? And I'm going to click on okay. If you hold shift, you're going to be guaranteed a perfect circle. So draw a circle that's, fairly big. And then what I do is I use the arrange tool. And if you hold down your mouse, let me just close out of this pop-up ad here. If you hold down your mouse and you adjust it, you're going to see a grid line. This means the one that goes horizontal means that my circle is perfectly centered on my piece of paper up and down. Now I also want it perfectly centered left and right. So I'm going to drag until I see that other line. When you get that cross on your page, you know that your shape is perfectly centered on your piece of paper or on your background. Okay. So I'm going to leave it like that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to bevel this shape. So we're going to go to filter and we're going to go down to bevel. And this is really going to be your preference. You're going to play around with it a little bit to see what you like. But I adjusted my angle to about 110, somewhere around there. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can adjust your elevation if you want. You can kind of see how that changes when you adjust your elevation. Okay. Size. So it depends on how beveled you want to get. And again, this is all going to be your personal preferences. Same with depth. Okay, you can kind of see how that changes as you change your depth. And remember, you can always click this button in the bottom left to see the original versus what you've changed it to. Highlight color. I'm actually going to change my highlight color to something similar to the color that I chose, just lighter. And then I'm going to go ahead and click apply on that. It'll let me. Oops, let me get out of this over here. Oh, I got to click OK first. Okay, I'm not clicking apply yet. And then you have to decide if you want to do any opacity, which will lighten the color. Shadow, right now the shadow is black. You are welcome to change your shadow color as well. So I'll just show you what it would look like if I did white. You can kind of see that. I'm going to change mine back to black and leave it at black. I'm going to click OK. And then again, go ahead and play around with anything, see if there's any other changes or adjustments you want to make along the way. And when you're happy with everything, you just click apply. Okay. Now we're ready to add our text layers. So go ahead and click on your text box. You're going to add text and you're going to type a capital first letter of your first name. I changed my color to white. Okay. And then I just made the size pretty big, somewhere around 400 or so. Actually, I don't know. You're going to have to adjust it depending on what font you choose anyway. So now I'm going to go ahead and just you would just go through your fonts and find a font that you like for your letters. Okay, so you just scroll through. Let me just kind of pick something. I'll just pick the brownies. Okay, and now I'm going to make it actually bigger because I want it to kind of overlap. And I'm going to use arrange and I'm going to move it so it's kind of covering up part of my circle on the top. Okay, now I'm going to just go ahead and duplicate this layer. So I'm going to gotta get out of the way here. I'm going to duplicate right here. And then I'm going to make, so I have the T for Tracy. I'm just going to click down here on this layer. Let's move this down here. And I'm going to make this my S for shoe. Okay, so I'm going to edit. I'm going to go back to text, edit, change this to the letter S for shoe. And there we go. Now I think my letters are too big actually, so I'm going to adjust the size. Okay, so let's go, I don't know, let's go about 700. And again, it really depends on what font you choose. It depends on how you want your letters positioned. So yours might be the same as mine. they might be different. I think this is too small. So I'm going to go a little bigger. Let's try 750. Somewhere around there. 765, good enough. I'm going to go to my T here, and I'm going to adjust so it's the same size, about 765. And you can type it in too. It's probably a little easier for me. Okay. Okay, and then now I think it's too small again because my T is too small. I'm just going to go 800. That's my S, my T. I'm going to make 800 as well. I'm just going to drag my T so it's above my S as well. And I'll show you why I'm going to do that in a second. Okay, so position them where you want them to be. Let's say about right there. I'm going to merge these two layers together so that they become one layer, and then they can move together as a unit. So make sure they're positioned exactly where you want them. They're sized exactly the way you want them. And then you're going to go ahead and merge down. Okay, and that makes the T and the S all one layer. So now if I wanted to move the T and the S, they will move together and they will stay together. Okay, so that's that. The next thing we want to do is we're going to bevel our text. So we're going to go back to filter. We're going to go to bevel, and you're going to kind of do this exact same thing. Okay, you're going to angle however you want to angle it. So it depends on where you want your bevel to be. Okay, same with elevation. You can adjust that if you want, and you're just going to make the same adjustments. You're going to keep playing around with it until that's really beveled, which I kind of like for this. So I'm going to completely bevel it. I'm going to change my highlight color to somewhere in the pink range and click OK. I'm going to change my shadow color. I'm going to try purple and see. And sometimes you have to play around just to see what those different colors will do. You can adjust the size. You can play around with all of this, the opacity, whatever it is that you like, and then you can go ahead and hit apply. Now, you can be done at this point if you want, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a layer and just do a little bit of a gradient. So I'm going to do an empty layer. I am going to click on my gradient, and I'm going to choose my gradient colors, and I'm going to stay in kind of the range that we're in now, the pink. I might just make this a little bit lighter over here. I'm going to say pink to white. I'm going to change my opacity maybe to, I don't know, somewhere in the 15 range or so. And then I'm going to go ahead and hold down my mouse, and I'm going to do a gradient. Okay, now that did the background. I didn't want the background to have a gradient, so let me go ahead and I'm just going to change my overlay here. I'm just going to do a multiply. Now let me see if that will not make my background. Okay, so it wasn't much of a gradient. You may have to adjust the opacity, and you can kind of see it's darkening a little. You can also do something else. Another thing that you can try is you can go to your brush tool, and you can make your brush size really big. Change the opacity of your brush, and you can paint over a little and see if that does anything. Okay, so that's the basic idea. So good luck to you, and just let me know if you have, wrong one, let me know if you have any questions, okay?